Hello. Hey, Lou, how are you?
Good, mate. You?
Good. Good.
What's on
Good.
the agenda today?
We are looking at scary cards, the cards that scare the shit out of us sometimes.
Cards that scare the shit out of us. I
Yeah.
think we're going to focus on the
On the
sword.
swords, when you've got a client in front of you and you pull out a sword and they go, oh,
Yeah, yeah, I find that, eh?
they do. You can see it in their face a lot of times, can't you?
Oh, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, and I'm like, no, no,
Yeah,
chillax, dude. It's
it's
all good.
fine. Yeah, but I
However,
just thought, yeah. But some of the swords, so, and we are concentrating on the swords today because they are with the images, they are the scariest, aren't they? The
yeah,
pictures, some of the pictures are not pretty. So we've got quite a selection of different decks here to show you.
we do.
So before we get into it, you need to know how to contact us.
Yeah.
Yes, I had a comment a couple of weeks ago that I didn't say it. So I'm now
Oh,
trying,
so yeah.
yeah, I have to say, yes, you can contact us on Facebook, Instagram, and our email, and yeah, on YouTube.
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 Yeah.
And our email is thetarotdealers@gmail.com. So send us your questions, send us your feedback, send us your love. Just send us.
Reach out, connect.
Yeah.
We'd love to connect.
Yes, we'd love to know what your thoughts are. If you've got any questions, you want us to focus on certain subjects, tell us. We'll do it.
That's
We'll
it.
do our research and we'll do it. So yes, we're now looking at swords.
Yeah. Well, we're just two old ducks
The
with our
two,
tarot
yeah,
cards,
and we
right?
love talking tarot.
We like talking tarot, and today
Yeah,
we're talking about the swords because they are
they're
scary.
scary. They are. So if we look at starting off with the aces, I mean, if we look at Lou's got her Rider Waite, so we're going to go through the Rider Waite, the Dragon Tarot, the Light Seers, and the Everyday Witch. I think it's the Everyday Modern Witch. I put the box down. Show it to you later.
Everyday modern witch, I think it
Everyday
is,
Modern
yeah.
Witch decks. And it's just to show you the difference between the pictures, difference between the images, because some images are beautiful. They're not scary at all. That's the Ace of Swords and the Light Seers. They're not scary at all. But others, oh, that's a bit freaky.
Mm.
So if we start with the aces, if we start with the Ace of Swords on the Rider Waite,
So
it's
it looks
just
like that.
it's just a hand holding a sword. It's nothing. If we look at the Light Seers, like I showed you, it's all about up in your head. Not scary at all, is it? And again, with the Modern Witch, it's very similar to the Rider Waite, just a hand holding the sword.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
The dragon, what's the dragon say?
the dragon is like cracking open an egg.
So that's nice.
Yeah. See, I quite like it. To me, it's the
Yeah.
birthing of,
Yes.
yeah, the
Yeah.
the
So
new
it's
the
like
new ideas.
with the dragon, it's very exciting, isn't it? You're entering something new. Something is, like you said, something is
It is,
birthing.
and the sword is in a different position. Like it, well, is it? No, it's not really. They're all facing
Oh, it's
up, aren't
facing
they?
up. They're all
Yeah,
they're all facing up.
facing up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that's pretty cool that they all do that.
Yeah, see the light seers, they don't have swords, but they have crows or ravens. There was a discussion the other night about whether it was a crow or a raven.
Yeah,
But yeah, so and again, and Lou said, look at the direction of the sword. That's going to tell you quite a bit. And with all of these, the sword is pointing straight up. So there's no question about these when the sword's pointing straight up.
yeah.
We move on to the twos, which is when we show the two, it's like you're quite indecisive, aren't we? So if we go the Modern Witch, it's very similar. The Modern Witch is
It
very
is
similar
similar.
to the Rider
Interesting
Waite.
that on the modern witch, her feet are crossed.
And with they're open, she's only wearing a short dress, whereas on the Rider Waite, the dress is completely coming down to her feet.
And you can tell that her feet
Yeah,
aren't
uncrossed. But yeah,
So
she's and in the Modern Witch, she's completely crossed over. She's completely tied up.
she is, isn't she? When you think
Yeah,
about body language,
yeah,
that's kind of like another no,
yeah, very much.
another
Yeah,
way to protect oneself.
yeah,
Whereas on the right of way, they speak into this openness as well as
as well
being
as yeah,
um
yeah.
at this crossroads or all this indecision.
So I wouldn't say, and I don't often see the two of swords frightening. Yes,
I don't.
you're in a bit of
Yeah.
a crossroad, a bit of a mix-up. You've got to make a decision, but we've all been there. It's not so frightening. Whereas if I look at the light seers too, I mean, it is a little bit scary. I know the crows are either putting the blindfold on, or they're trying to take it off.
Yeah, it's kind of like
It's
I
like-
look at that and feel like I'm being attacked.
Yeah, and that's what I feel. Are the crows attacking? Do we, looking at that, are we taking that sense of being attacked when actually they could be helping? But again,
That's a point, yeah.
this has a more fear base to it, doesn't it? Because it is that, are they attacking me? Because I can't see what's happening. Am I being attacked? So there's a little bit of fear here.
Kind of like the need to trust the environment that you find yourself in, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like, and what's
yeah.
surrounding you. But
It
to
is.
look at it, it can be quite scary.
Quite scary, and this is what we're saying, if we talk about swords, quite often we say swords, people they put their back up straight away, don't they?
Yeah, some people are like, oh
You
my
know.
God, swords are bad.
Yeah.
And you'll see as we go through. And
Yes.
some of them are fucking
Some
scary.
of them
I
are.
think they are.
Like the next one.
Well, hang on. That's the dragon,
Oh, the dragon. See,
right?
that is beautiful. Look at
It
the
is a
light of
beautiful
that.
card. Yeah. To me, it's like he's hiding
Yes.
on that. It's like, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Hiding from the world. That's how I see that.
But it's also with the light, I mean, with the gold color, it's almost like I'm discovering the answer within me.
Within me, yeah.
Within
That's
me.
our solar plexus, right? Yeah. So, yeah, interesting. Anyway.
So what I might do, just because we've got so many, I might take photos of all of these, just lay them out so you can see each and every two, each and every sword, I mean, so you can compare and talk and see what we're talking about, because you might not have all these decks.
Yeah, that's true. Good point, Trent.
Yeah. So we're moving on to the Three of Swords, and this is one where people go, shit.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack. Yeah, maybe, motherfucker. Maybe.
Yeah.
No, not
really. So we've got the Rider-Waite and the Modern Witch, and they are very similar, but on the Modern Witch, it's
bottom half of the card looks like it's that darker blood. Or, like that older blood. They say older blood is
it's darker.
Yeah. So it's kind of like old, to me, I see that as old wounds.
Yeah, old wounds.
Being released by a fresh attack.
Yeah. Yes.
If that makes sense.
It is. It really is. It's like if you're looking at that, you're going over old wounds and opening them up.
That's a much better take, Trent.
They may have been, you might have thought you dealt with them and there was a scar over them, and you've just opened that scar.
Crack that open, yeah. So it can be, as we know, it can be divorce, it can be heart attack, it can be heartache, but it can be emotional clearing or healing, because as Trent just said, you might have just cracked something open,
And again, if we're looking at the Modern Witch with that dark, maybe we have cracked that scar open to completely release it, to release the old, like Lulu said, the black blood, to release the old that we've been hanging on.
Maybe. So I don't know. Do you find this card scary?
I feel like that's more of a healing card lately. The Three of Swords, when I see it's more of a healing. It's like you've been through the shit. Yes, you scarred. Now it's time to move on.
Right, okay. But to look at, do you
to look at, it's frightening.
You find that scary card?
Yeah.
Interesting. We'd love to know your thoughts on what you find scary cards.
But on the Light Seers, this is where I see it's a very dark card. But I can see the healing, because if you look at the scars, but there's actually stitches holding them together.
Yeah, see, I'm drawn to her face, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so much pain.
There's so much pain. Is she screaming?
Like she's screaming.
She's screaming, or is she screaming in the release?
Well, she might be, yeah. But from a scary point of view, that's how
it's a frightening card. And the Light Seers, from a scary point of view, this is frightening, because it shows you the complete devastation and the complete hurt and the complete grief. It's just complete grief. It's not sadness, it's past sadness.
And speaking of that, check out the dragons, right?
I'll see.
So on the Dragon Tarot, he's literally reached in and ripped his heart out. So it's like feeling like you had your heart ripped out, and then he holds it, right? And it's bleeding from there.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, and you see all the lightning on here. So to me, it's like that You know those
you have,
movies where
you
you literally ripped your
it
heart
out.
out. Yeah.
You know,
So
and it's like, here, I'm giving it to you on a platter because you've just ripped it out.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
blood on the ground
Yeah.
that's been spilled. Like I find this card quite dramatic.
Very dramatic.
Very, very dramatic. That's a word for it, dramatic.
Whereas I don't find the Four of Swords as scary.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, to me, this is just, you've been through the shit of the three, you know, you've been through the complete and utter devastation. Now it's like you've gone past that. Now you are completely drained and exhausted.
And it's really interesting because looking at those two cards, so the Modern Witch as well as the Rider-Waite deck, on the Rider-Waite, this is actually like a coffin. And that's a statue that sits on top. So to me, it's like the death of, right? And yet on that, she's very much alive.
She's very much alive. And looking at, and with the Modern Witch, the four swords are on the wall, whereas in the Rider-Waite, only three are on the wall and one is below the statue on the coffin. So it almost, on the Modern Witch, it almost feels like, yes, you're completely drained, but then you've got four swords hanging over the top of you. When are they going to drop?
Yeah, like, is there more drop?
More
Interesting.
dropping.
And then we look at like the dragons, and the dragons too have three swords above and one that he's, would you say sleeping on, holding?
Yeah, protecting.
Protecting maybe, like whatever he's doing. I don't find this dragon card scary at all. I don't find it scary at all. I don't really find the Rider-Waite scary, but given that I understand the symbology, I can see why it would be.
Exactly.
A scary card,
Whereas the Light Seers, you're sort of curled up in a nest. And so
that does not that it frightens me, that card, but it does, for me, I look at that and think, oh, like I feel that
it's a complete isolation, isn't
in
it?
my gut, where I think, oh, that's horrible. So I kind of see that as that. Like at a first visual, I know that's not what it means, but just if we're talking about the visuals to look at.
Visuals to look at. And again, coming back, she actually has her heart, or a heart, in the nest with her. So again, if we look at the dragons, she's pulled her heart out. It's still on a string. It's still on a string wrapped around, but it's in the nest with
three.
That's the three in the dragon.
Yeah, and a four in
and
that.
The four in that.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's funny, I was just looking at it. This seems to be, oh no, the three. I was looking because we were saying the Light Seers represent the swords with crows, but the 3 and 4 don't have any crows in the Light Seers. They are just.
That's interesting. Those hearts representing that. And that. Wow.
Yeah,
Never noticed that before.
No, I didn't notice it because we were just because we talked about whether they were crows or ravens, and I just went, oh, they don't have them. So telling you lies here. And so we're moving on to the 5 of Swords.
There we go.
Sometimes, and I know 5s are challenging and with swords they're conflict, but sometimes I find this quite a frightening card. I do, especially on the Light Seers because of the clouds. They've been ragged and ripped on the Rider-Waite.
Yeah.
The clouds have been ripped and shredded, and he's standing there.
Look on his face, even, isn't it?
It's like a smug, I've got one over you. I've got your swords. I've beaten you.
Yeah.
And it's not so much, but very similar on the Modern Witch. It's still the same. I've beaten you at something, and I've,
very different cards. So when you look at it,
they are very different. They've got a different feel.
Very different feel, despite them having the same or similar symbology. I find the Modern Witch like nowhere near as threatening.
No, and like you talked about the facial expression on the Rider-Waite, whereas this is just. It's a nothing expression. It's like it's no, this just happened. Oh, well, deal with it.
It's just not the same. Is it?
Whereas on the Rider-Waite, it's very much look what I've done.
Like I've won on the what do you call it, the victor.
The victor.
Yeah, interesting.
And whereas on the Light Seers, it's very much about being completely in your head.
It's like being haunted, isn't it?
It really is.
It
really is, and quite literally not being able to find your way out. That's how I see this card. You just cannot find your way out of
You
it.
know what's bizarre about that card for me,
Yeah.
and I don't know why this thought just come into my head, but from a mental health
Yeah, that's what
perspective, it reminds me of someone experiencing voices or, you know, schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because of the
wow.
crow on his shoulder. And it's like, is that crow there, the voices that he's hearing? Or is it,
That inner critic that
yeah, or is
tells
it,
you bullshit stories
yeah,
all the time.
or is it part of your conscious saying this is the way out? So again, you can read, but the image,
By the way, yeah, that's
but
really
the
good.
image is total despair.
It
in a
does look
sense,
like total despair
it
in a
does, doesn't
sense,
it?
yeah, doesn't it?
You know, and it is. Is it the precursor to depression?
Yeah, that's a
You
point
know?
too.
You know, again, and even then, that is a frightening card. In the light seers, I find it's quite a frightening card. I don't like it when that one comes
You don't
out.
like that one? When the 5 of Swords for the dragons, like not when, but this is the 5 of Swords for the dragons. And what's interesting is we have the two people that have either given up or simply stopped or lost the battle on the
Yeah.
ground, and the dragon in the air when he's holding that sword up,
Yeah.
almost like he's holding something over you,
Yeah.
is the feel potentially for that. Or if you're not looking, he'll chop your
He'll chop,
bloody head off, you know.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I don't personally find that a threatening card. You see
No,
the horse in the background, like I'm fucking out
yeah,
of here, and he's
yeah,
gone. I don't personally find that a scary card.
no, not that one.
No, not to look at. To me, it feels like just
It's
defeat.
defeat. Quite
Feels,
literally, there's a victor and not a victim. It's not, but there is a victor as well as a loser.
yeah, that's what that
Yeah,
feels like for looking at. Yeah,
for the dragon.
but I don't look at it and see it scary.
It's
Yeah,
not scary.
no.
No, it's that one. That 5 of Swords is not scary at all.
Mm.
Yeah. So we move on to the 6 of Swords, and again, I don't find this one scary. I find this one liberating. It's like you've gone through the shit, you've come out the other side, you've worked out a way of moving forward. You know, yes, you may be leaving behind a lot of shit, which is probably good, but you're moving to something a lot more calmer.
Well, you are, and the thoughts are in the thoughts. The swords are in the bow,
yeah.
right? So that's the lessons learned and
Yeah.
thoughts that you're and the beliefs you've chosen
Yeah.
to take forward, right? So that's how I see that.
Yeah.
And when I first, like years and years ago, would look at this card, I would often wonder, like, how come the swords aren't making the boat sink?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it'd be like, in that sense, that would be referring to making sure your thoughts don't sink your new direction.
Or don't pierce your new
Pierce.
direction, your new thoughts, your new beliefs.
Yes.
To take you back to old.
I don't see that card as scary either.
I don't find it scary.
All right.
The light seers are different though.
Yeah, that
The light seers
really turbulent.
It's very turbulent. You cannot really see the difference between the choppy side and the calm side. Even though you are being pulled in the right direction, you can't, it's not as defined as the Rider-Waite or the Modern Witch, but it's still got a different feel. It's not as calming.
Yeah, I'd certainly see that card if that came up in a reading for me. I'd be like, oh, bit concerned looking at that.
Yeah.
You know, and yet when you look at the dragons, that just feels like that, you know, that song Sail Away, Sail Away, Sail Away. That's what comes into my head.
See, I look at that and think of Harry Potter.
Oh, I can see how you do that. Yeah.
And I think, oh, Harry Potter, you know, all that magic and wisdom. Yeah, that's what I see.
Yeah, I can. So this one's definitely not a scary card.
Not a scary
Definitely not.
Now we're moving on to the 7 of Swords, and definitely I don't like this card.
You don't like this card, right? What don't you like?
I don't like it. To me, this is very much about betrayal, theft.
You
know, it's sneakiness. That's my word for this card. There's sneakiness. There's things that underhandedness going on.
Underhandedness. I know a few people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't. And, you know, sometimes I struggle to put a positive spin on this card.
Do you?
I really do. You know, yes, I can see that sometimes you may be just taking what belongs to you and leaving behind what doesn't. You know, and you quite could be leaving behind old thoughts, old behaviors, and just taking what you need. But especially in the Rider-Waite, that is more sneaky than this one.
He is more sneaky, isn't he? He
Yes.
certainly has that look about him
Yeah.
being definitely more sneaky.
Yes.
To me, I feel, well, one of the things that I look at this card and say, it's like, make a quiet exit. Take what's yours and make a quiet exit
Yeah.
is one of the ways that I've seen this card. But yeah, betrayal, lies, theft, sneakiness, underhandedness, all of that. But do I see it as a scary card?
Not really scary. It's more just that those words that keep coming up. I suppose that's a blind spot of mine, those words that keep coming up, and I have to either look at other cards around it to go, okay, well, why has this card come up?
Yeah.
You know, what am I missing? If that card comes up and there's other cards around it, what am I missing?
Yeah, what am I missing? That's a good question.
Yeah. So, and then with the light seers, again, that sneakiness. But in this case, with the light seers, you're being called out on your sneakiness. Being called out.
That card reminds me of like a ninja.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's
making that quiet escape.
A thief in the night, right? With the quiet escape. But to me, that's what that reminds me of. Yeah. I'm actually not as threatened by that one as that one with the Rider Waite.
Yes. Funny. Yeah. And again, we're saying look at different decks, but yeah, this in the light seers, yes, I don't feel it's a frightening card like the Rider Waite, but I do feel like you're being called out on your bullshit.
I can see that. Yeah, definitely called out any bullshit. And then we look at the dragons, right? Totally different take again. We got someone sleeping there, like holding his bone, right? So he's holding what's his. Yeah. He's got two here, but he's got the swords above him, in the air. Yeah. So very different feel again.
Yes, because you're looking at that, it doesn't feel like loss or betrayal. It's just he's worked hard to get what he wanted.
He has. You'll see a little dragon in the corner here trying to take his bone.
So there is somebody there.
Yeah, so to me, this is blatant theft. Right?
Yeah, very much.
Trying to take what's not yours. Or are you trying to reclaim what was taken from you? Right? Interesting how they feel. I'm not threatened by that card either. No. I don't find that scary.
Yeah. 8 of Swords.
Different fucking story.
Different story.
Okay.
Different story.
Very.
This is basically saying you're tying yourself up in knots.
Absolutely.
You know, and a lot of times you've done this to yourself.
Yeah, it's your own thoughts, right?
Yeah, it's your own. And yes, that can be scary because I don't want to acknowledge my thoughts.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's a self-imposed prison.
Yeah.
But when I look at it, I get a little, you're like, okay, is it a scary card? I think it can be.
It can be.
I think people can look at that and go, oh, fuck. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's just how you feel, right? You feel all wound up and you feel like you can't see the forest for the trees.
Exactly.
Isn't that yeah. So to me, that's what that is. So I do feel in this sense that this card can be quite a scary card.
Yeah. And both of these, and I know Lou has said this before, the water on the base of both of these cards, it's like we're going over old shit and expecting a different outcome.
Yeah.
And that's what's tying ourselves up in knots. And we are doing this ourselves. And then we're pulling in, I should have done, I could have done, I would have done. You can't. So stop tying yourself up in knots. And it can be a really scary card because you cannot find your way out.
Because you can't see, right? Yeah. So I do feel, to look at that, I do feel like that might invoke some emotions in people who have that in their reading.
Yeah. But on the light seers, it's a completely different take. You know, it's like on the outside, you're good. On the inside, holy shit. You on the inside, you again coming back to you tying yourself in knots. You're getting allowing your thoughts to get the better of you on the light seers, because it's very much you're looking at yourself in a mirror. You know, so what are you ignoring? What do yes, you are tying yourself in knots, but you're showing a good face to the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of self denial. I was going to say dishonesty, but yeah,
I suppose it is.
So do I find that a scary card?
The light seers I don't find as scary.
I find it as scary.
And I mean, there is a bit of a sense of fear if you're in that space.
Oh,
But
for
to look
sure.
at that, it's not a scary card on the light seers.
Interesting. You
Yeah.
look at the dragons, and we look at the dragon tarot, and like the dude's all tied up, and yet he's got all these flowers and shit growing all over
I
him.
always think he's got like Christmas lights.
Caught up in the
Fairy
Christmas
lights.
lights. Yeah, fairy lights. So I look at it and I go, has he been sitting there that long that nature has like taken over?
Taken over. So
You
yeah,
know?
yeah. So has
Like,
he not found the way out?
yeah, has he not found the way out? Can he not see the beauty?
Yeah.
You know, can he not see the growth of this shit situation? You know, you get in a shit situation and it ends up turning out to be
It'd be the best thing ever.
the best fucking thing or something
Yeah.
you've learned the most about,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
This to me is what this card represents. I don't find it scary, but I do find it confronting.
Very confronting,
I
yes.
find it confronting because he's all tied up like that. So
Yes. And yeah, very much. And he's allowed the nature to come and tie himself up further.
true.
So there's more.
So it's like he's said, I'm a what's the word? I'm something or other to the elements. Like
Yeah.
I've just surrendered to the elements.
Yeah.
I'm a victim to the elements. You know, I can't control this.
Yes.
Which of course is not true, but nonetheless, that's
Yeah.
the story that it feels like this particular person on this card, this dragon, is telling
It's like,
himself.
having his own little pity party.
Pity party. That's what he's doing. He's having a pity party. Yeah, yeah.
So we're moving on to the 9 of Swords with the modern witch. Yep. I mean, this is not a scary card looking at it, but the sense of it is.
Yeah, the sense of it is.
You're caught up in your worries. You can't sleep because your thoughts are going round and round in circles. And I think Luke pointed out, if you look at these cards, both on the Rider-Waite and the modern witch, there's no point to those thoughts.
No point.
There's no point to your worries. There's no
No.
point to keeping yourself up at night. There's no point to it.
No point at all.
Oh, but when this card comes out, people go, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah, and I think because it's black, I
Yes.
think the black is what makes it somewhat scary.
Yeah, yeah,
and
very much.
Yeah, the person sitting with their head in their hands. I think
Because,
that in
yeah.
itself is like despair.
Despair, yeah,
You know.
yeah, yeah. But to me, it's in a sense you've still got hope because of that. You're recognizing there's no point. You're recognizing that yes, I might be in the situation, but I know there's hope. I can't see it, but I know there's hope somewhere. But I know. Yeah. Whereas the light seers, and again, it's similar. It's very different. Again, the head in the hands. You've got all these thoughts above, and it's like those thought bubbles.
Yeah.
So all the crows up the top are all your thought bubbles, and all the thoughts going round and round in circles. But again, in the light seers, there is actually a white bird. So that's where I get that hope from in the light seers. It's not to me in the light seers, it's not as bad as like the Rider-Waite with that darkness. I know this is a modern witch, but you get what I mean. But yeah, it's not as dark. There is, and you can, to me, I can very much see the light coming with that bird, but then also it's like you're at the dawn, I would say the dawn, the new day.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So looking at the dragons, 9 of Swords, like to me, that's torment.
Very much,
right?
isn't
Torment
it?
and torture. So we see the dragon on the ground with his head down and his hands, and we see the sword to the side, almost like it's pointing to the ground, which is a different direction.
A different direction
for the other swords. Yeah. And then above his head, we see like the dragon, but we see the men around like trying to slay the dragon. So to me, it's
that's quite literally nightmares.
It is, yeah, nightmares, torment, PTSD from a mental health perspective is what I would see.
Yes, yeah.
So I find this is a scary card.
Yes.
When I look at that, I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
I don't like the look
you don't
like
feel that, no.
of that. Yeah, so I do see this particular card as a scary card to look at. Yeah,
very much. And then we move on to the last one, which is the 10 of Swords, which sometimes I think is the most scariest sword at all of all. Because you've got a person lying on the ground with 10 swords, especially in the Rider-Waite, 10 swords all the way up and down their back.
Yeah. See, to me, that's like, that's the lowest of the low that you can get.
hit
So
rock bottom,
hit
you?
rock bottom. It's
Yeah.
like death. It's like all the things, and
Yeah.
yet the sun rises here.
Exactly.
But to look at, yes, I see that as a scary card.
Yeah, very much.
Very much see that
Yeah.
as a scary card.
And
like I'd be like,
yeah.
oh fuck, what's going
Exactly.
to happen to me if I come into a reading? Oh my God, what's going to happen to me is what I'd be asking.
Yes, yes.
But
Yeah.
like
And
we know it's not
it's
that,
not
but
that,
it
but
looks it.
But and with the modern witch, you can actually see that she's actually on her phone. So yes, she's got 10 swords up and down her body.
She's very much alive.
Very much alive, and is she ignoring it because she's using her phone? Is she watching TikTok or Facebook or something and just going, oh, I can't be bothered?
And what's fascinating about this deck,
in the modern witch, we have a second 10 of swords, and it's saying, so down here we'll say on our normal one, 10 of swords. On the other one, it says everything's fine. Don't look here, everything's fine.
I find that interesting because the swords represent like the mental energy and stuff, right? And if we're looking from a mental health perspective, to me, that is utter denial.
Exactly.
Complete denial.
Exactly.
Of, no, I'm fine. Everything's fine, which can be delusion.
Yep. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about it. Everything's fine.
To me, I'd see that as psychosis because the person is like
checked out, haven't you?
Everything's fine, but you can see it's fucking not.
Exactly.
Like, the reality is it's not. But their reality is no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I'd see that from the mental
health
health
it's just
perspective.
interesting with the modern witch having two 10 of swords, and it's your choice which one you use.
Fascinating.
So,
and the dragons, we look at the dragons and a completely different field. To me, this one is very much about death because we see the bones and then we see the rising of the dragon up above. So I'm not feeling like that one
that's not so scary.
A scary card, not compared to.
And then same with the light seers. I don't find this, even though it's a 10 of swords, I do not find this scary. I find this, I've risen up.
Yeah, it's like I'm free. That's the feeling I have for that one. So I don't find that a scary card either. I don't find the light seers 10 of swords scary at all. I quite look forward to when this one comes out and go, you've hit rock bottom, but you've found your way up and you've released a lot of shit. It's like liberation to me, that card.
Literally.
Yeah. So I don't find that one scary either.
No. But so you can see when the swords come out, just look at the picture and whether, then you make a choice whether you feel like it's scary. See how your body feels. Yeah, see how your body feels. I love that. See how your body feels. So there's some of the cards that we consider to look at scary, not necessarily their meanings, but to look at might be a little scary. Or we can understand how someone who comes in for a reading sees that card and goes, oh my fucking God. They start freaking out. Happening? Yeah. So we hope that that's clarified some of that for you, but also so that you can see and hear that we also understand that just looking at it might be a little scary. Might be a little bit scary. And it might just, you might just need to take a breath and go, okay, what else can this card tell me apart from this fucking scary? What happens next? Interesting. Thank you for listening. No, thank you very much. Thank you for supporting. Absolutely. Sharing, liking, subscribing. All the things. And we will catch you next time. So from our heart to yours, big, big love. See you later. Bye.